Can this really be happening? Can the Cowboys, who are playing with a fourth-round rookie quarterback, a fourth-round compensatory pick rookie quarterback, a third-string rookie quarterback, can they really be doing this? Can they really have gone out and dominated a potential Super Bowl team in the Cincinnati Bengals to the tune of 28-14 in a game that was nowhere near as close as what the final score indicated? It was really 28-0 when it was all said and done, and that was on the heels of a scintillating performance by Ezekiel Elliott. He finally got the big breakaway run that we've all been waiting for. He's had plenty of 20-yard runs and 23 and 26, but he finally broke out over the 30-yard run threshold in a big way with a monster 60-yard gallivanting down the field. That's the best way that I can describe it, because he was gone so quickly and just split defenders behind another sensational block by Zach Martin. I cannot say enough about how good this offensive line is. The Cowboys have now averaged 191 yards on the ground in the last 3 games. That's an average, not a high point, and that's something that teams are never going to achieve over the course of the entire season. Ezekiel Elliott now leads the league in rushing still with 546 yards. He added 2 more touchdowns, so now he has 5 on the ground. He has more rushing yards than 23 other teams combined. So that can just tell you exactly how great this team is in the running game, because Alfred Morris is doing his thing. Dak Prescott is doing his thing. We see Lucky Whitehead on the jet sweeps that were so famous last year that he seems to be taking over. Lance Dunbar was out for the game. But all in all, this offense is just hitting on all cylinders. And it makes very little sense when you look at it, because they lost Tyron Smith for 2 games. They've lost Des Bryant for a couple games. Tony Romo has been out the entire season. Those are really their 3 best offensive players, leaving Elliott out of it, coming into the season as far as veterans were concerned. And they're playing without those guys for the majority of their games, and they're still dominating. The best part is that the offense is nowhere near what it could be, because they still don't go down the field, but they haven't had to. We thought that Cincinnati was going to be the big test in this game, in this early part of the season, because how dominant they are on defense. They are a very, very well disciplined team on defense. I say disciplined because of how they play, not necessarily their personalities, because they do have some crazy guys on their side too. Looking at you, Vontaze Burfict and Adam Pac-Man Jones and all the guys that seem to get personal foul penalties all the time. But that wasn't the case this game. They just simply got their ass kicked, and they were sitting there looking like, how are we supposed to stop this team? From the very first drive, the Cowboys exerted their will on the game. They just ran it down the throat, and we had 3 consecutive runs. I believe it was 17, 9, and 13-yard runs by Ezekiel Elliott to cap off the first scoring drive, and it was just all downhill from there. The Cowboys just could not be stopped. The momentum was too great. And then they turned around and gave us a defensive performance that we could be proud of. DeMarcus Lawrence returned after the 4-game suspension, and maybe it was his presence more so than his play. His play was very good too, but he didn't get any hits or sacks on the quarterback, but the rest of the team did. Now, a lot of people will point to the direct corollary, DeMarcus Lawrence was back, so that meant that more people were covering Lawrence, and that's what freed up the things for the rest of the defensive line. But that's not the case at all. Terrell McClain and Benson Mayowa, they did their part. McClain had a sack and a half. Mayowa, he had 3 quarterbacks hit. Mayowa had 2 hits, including the sack. Ryan Davis had a sack nullified by a kind of questionable holding penalty on Justin Durant. But all in all, the defensive line was doing their thing, and it wasn't really with DeMarcus Lawrence on the field. He only played 17 snaps. Out of 41 pass attempts, I'd probably say that Lawrence was in there for 10 to 12 of them. The Cowboys were doing work even without him on the field. And that's a testament, because we all know how much they struggled. They were a bottom 5 team in sacks coming into the game. They had 4 of them. I spoke about the 5th one that got nullified. It all seems so reminiscent of how the Cowboys were for the past couple years. Last year, when Greg Hardy came back after his suspension, there was a big boom with the pass rush and against the New England Patriots. That didn't last throughout the rest of the season, although DeMarcus Lawrence did his thing, but hopefully that will be the case in 2016. Now, on the flip side, on the offense, is more reminiscent to what it was in 2014 when DeMarco Murray was toting the rock. But all in all, it's just a very exciting time to be a Cowboys fan, because you're not only seeing the future develop right before your eyes, but you're also seeing the present. The Cowboys are 4-1 on the season. If the playoffs started today, they'd have a bye. They have the 2nd best record in the NFC behind surprise undefeated Minnesota, who's playing with Sam Bradford. And guess what? They meet later on in the season. So it's going to be all on the table for the Cowboys in order to do whatever they want to do. Now, Tony Romo is coming back in a couple weeks, and we spoke at length about the amount of salary cap space that he takes up and how much more he brings to the offense than even what the great Dak Prescott are doing right now. It makes no sense to want to bench Dak Prescott except for the fact that you have a guy that's capable of being a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the league. And for all the greatness that Prescott is, that's not him right now. He certainly looks like he has the potential to be that, but the offense is still very limited. Now, we've seen teams play with a limited offense before. Look at Seattle when they brought in Russell Wilson and still have success. So if the Cowboys are forced to return to Dak Prescott for whatever reason, Tony Romo struggles, he gets injured again, we have all the confidence in the world that this team can still go far. But the ultimate prize, the Super Bowl, will still be determined, in my estimation, on whether or not Tony Romo can play. And to think that the Cowboys are in this position after all of the injuries that they've gone through, Orlando Scandrick not playing, the defensive line, the guys that are missing there, the rookies that aren't playing, all of this stuff combined, it's amazing the Cowboys are doing what they're doing right now. And we're all along for a joyous ride. So strap your seatbelt, make sure that you got your helmet on. We are going full force. The Cowboys are 4-1, and they have the Green Bay Packers, who have a really ridiculously stingy rushing defense. So it'll be strength against strength when it comes down to next Sunday's matchup, and we're all looking forward to it. That's it with your game recap. I'm KD Drummond for Cowboys Wire. Salute.